Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to another This versus That. Welcome to another day of the twins. Welcome to a day of ambition, and we hope to fulfill that ambition. And maybe we'll just let it go as long as it needs to be. For those of you unfamiliar who have stumbled in here for the first time, hey, how's it going? How did that happen? We have, of course, the twins. The twins. Tomax and Zaymot, the twins. Two identical vehicles, but they're not. Not right now. They will be, but right now they're not. And they're not for a reason. Because the brother who is still in the closer to original configuration, Zaymot, the younger brother, is fitted with a clone of the deluxe OD-3 gearbox. The OD-3 gearbox is a pretty darn rootin' tootin' good gearbox. It's not loud. It's got a good amount of gear reduction to it. It mounts real low, keeps your CG down. I mean, look how low the motor is. It's under his butt. It's way down there. But these two gentlemen are here for a relatively singular purpose, which is to this or that or this, one versus the other. Whether we're testing a tire directly against another tire, oftentimes it tends to be a motor directly against another motor. So we went through the Reedy files with these gentlemen, testing the Reedy speed controls and available Reedy motors, because why not test junk? And what we ended up landing on is 35-turn Injora, $14 Amazon motors, and Hobbywing 1080 Gen 1s, which is a really inexpensive combo. And we can get away with a really inexpensive combo because, as I mentioned, the OD-3 has a pretty good amount of gear reduction, and it is paired to portal axles. So this gentleman, as he sits on his gearing right now, is 69-1 gear reduction, which is a lot. So that will make up for a lot of the failings any motor might have. We're kind of motor down, gear down. The better the motor is, the much higher, the much taller gearing it can withstand. These guys do great. The low speed control is reasonably good. It's not it's not slap your mama good. It's not blow your mind good, but we're talking about a $50 combo-ish. And this is all sunk cost because we didn't buy anything for this game. So in the last, as we were completing the Reedy files and we were switching motors around, to switch this motor and the motor that was in the other OD-3 and this gentleman, it took 25 minutes to swap two motors, because the way the OD-3 is built, you definitely have to take the whole gearbox out of the vehicle, disconnect the drive shafts, do all of the stuff, right, to get to it. It would kind of be optimized if these guys were fitted with Stealth XFs, but Stealth XFs don't really fit the build. So we went the next closest option. I realized that in that framing you can't see any of it at all. And we went Stealth X. Good old Stealth X. I don't know where I put this radio. I put it over here on the other side of the room because that's what one does when one loses things. He was supposed to be on and he's not. So the Stealth X, it lives up to its name. It's very quiet. And if I did the math right, and my math is based on their math, if I did my math right, this guy should have a 20-tooth pinion. I don't have any 20-tooth pinions. You know what I do have a lot of? Harkening back to the Texas Slash of the early 2000s, the end of the aughts, 19-tooth pinions. 48-pitch 19-tooth pinions. I probably have half a dozen of them. So he is fitted with a 19-tooth pinion. I don't know if you'll be able to judge this with the stereoscopic, stroboscopic effect. Okay? Keep that in your mind. There's definitely a different tone, but I think our final wheel speed is pretty close. So, why don't I just change both? Because, I was so organized. Why don't I just change both? Here's the identical jobby. I use old-timey slipper plates, not activated as a slipper. They're completely locked down because the shaft that comes in a Stealth X is not long enough to affix a slipper to. They are basically designed to have an eliminator. I dug through all of my springs trying to find one that would be short enough and it wouldn't fit. But what those plates do compared to the little plastic things that they give you with every Element gearbox is, look at that gear. There's no run out on that gear at all because we have machined plates holding it. If I had assembled this, if I wanted to go through the hassle and assembled it with the plastic plates that hold that gear in place, the spur gear goes. Because then the spur gear is not self-centering. It's held in place by those two plastic molded come off of a tree plates. And they're not great. Would I look into putting in, like, say, Bauhaus slipper eliminators? Well, I mean, yeah, because at some point in the future, I would prefer to be able to use these plates and discs on a vehicle that is using a slipper. So we might go to slipper eliminators in the future. This guy is definitely going to go to this gearbox in the future. I don't think, I mean, it might show a little, that's a little bit of a perspective issue, but he is indeed sitting a little higher, and I know this for a fact because we have a little, see a little stack of foam? A little stack of foam? Because the motor is now on the driver's side instead of the passenger side. So there is a possible potential and quite likely shifteroo that's going to have to go on because looking at the weights, which will pop up, you know, we'll leave it. I'll try not to gesticulate up here so that we can keep. So this is blue and this is red. Okay. So blue is sitting at 3,282 grams, weight distribution of 55-45. He's got 1,801 grams on the front axle and 1,481 grams on the rear axle. His cross weights are 49.51. He's crossing over about 85 grams more onto the driver's side, which is not surprising. This guy's motor is, okay, that is surprising. This guy's motor is over here and the battery's over there. I had these back. Yeah, okay. All right, hold on. We're gonna have to get to that. This is Tomax Red. He is sitting at 3,402 grams. So everything else is identical. We've picked up about 100 grams from going from an OD-3 to a Stealth X. I genuinely thought that the weight gain would be greater. 1939 on the front axle, 1463 on the rear axle. So red actually has 18 fewer grams on the rear axle, which moves him 55.45 over here, 57.43 over here. And that makes no sense to me at all, except that the meat of the gearbox. Okay, so their electronics lineups are exactly the same. They're both on a tray because I wanted to get them located in the same spot. The receiver is stuck to the back of the tray, and the switch is on top of the receiver. So you see that's right in line with the center of the gearbox. This guy, pretty much the entire gearbox, save for the plate, is forward of that. So I guess we just ended up incidentally moving 2% of the weight forward. How that will affect overall CG in terms of height, that I don't know because we're not near final yet. He has got 49.51 cross and about 60 more grams on this side relative to the other side. So what did I say? He's got 90 grams more. He's got 60 grams more, which is kind of crazy because the motor's on this side on that one, the motor's on that side on that one. Crossweights sometimes are operated by a genie. I don't know explicitly how we got there. Little note for followers of the progress of these boys. Somebody said countersunk washers to tell them apart. So he is fitted with blue countersunk washers, and he is fitted with red. You would think the red would stand out more, but the red really kind of fade into the background. So, CG on this might be a hair higher. Well, it's going to be higher. The driver sits however thick, 4 layers of sticky back Hobby Foam are, but it's just the driver figure that's higher. The gearbox, the motor actually is either the same height or maybe a little lower, because the adapter plate for this, I didn't want to change the skid. So I kind of love the skid with just the 3 holes in it. I mean, it's kind of great. And we already modified this chassis to fit that skid. So it remains. This guy is sitting on a 10 millimeter spacer made of Delrin, so that the motor, because the motor sits so low on that to clip the links, this is just on 1/8 inch aluminum. It just bolts right in. So geared a little lower, CG maybe a little higher, like we're talking probably millimeters. Oh yeah, why is there a gearbox in there and there's a gearbox in there? Okay, because this comes from the factory with options for either 6% or 12% rear underdrive. But you can buy the 25-55 gears for the Stealth XF. Those gears do indeed fit inside this gearbox, which gives you 18%. 18% underdrive, 18% underdrive. 2 very different approaches to the same problem. Do we call it a problem? Let's call it a problem. 2 different approaches to the same problem. The difference is that making changes to this setup is, well, let me point it out for you. Okay, so there is motor mount screw 1 and there's motor mount screw 2. What I do, I don't have the handle on it, but I take a driver like that, and if we go in through there, there's the top screw, and if we go in through there, there's the bottom screw. I can remove this motor. I pop him out, which he's just held in by the battery strap. I pop him out. I can have that motor out in a minute, and the new motor back in a minute. So that is why we went to Stealth X. Also, again, so I feel like, okay, right? We're doing brother versus brother before we even get outside. Is that the 2%? You can't do it. You can't do it. All right, I'll help him out. Right? Yes, obviously. Statement of the obvious. Something's different. But beyond that, something feels different. Okay. We're going to rock him. We're going to sock him. We're going to take him out, and we're going to have him do the things. We're going to say, wait, let's... Yes. Yes. We're going to see how well they do the things. And they're pretty good at doing the things, the brothers. And then, here's where the optimism, the shining spirit... Wait. There we go. How the shining spirit of optimism comes through, because we think that we can get more done in a limited time frame than we can. It should probably be split into 2 episodes, but you know what? We're feeling froggy, so we're going to jump. 35 turn Injora, $14 motor. 35 turn Injora, $14 motor. Tekin T35 HD, 35 turn, $50 motor. So I figured when we pull his OD-3 out, let's slap this in there, and then we'll have Injora versus that. We'll see how that does. We'll probably have run out of time by then. Sitting on the bench, yeah, racing Hack Moto V2 35 turn. Tamiya CR tuned 35 turn. And just for spicy, and because we saw it in the comments, and we should reserve it for another episode, so it'll probably be coming in the next installment and not this one. Team Haruf stuff. I believe it is a 27 turn. I wish I had more 27 turns on hand. I will double dig the bin to see if I have another 27 turn available. I'm not sure if I do. But I think, honestly, these boys with the 69-1, and they need to be geared higher to run 35s on the Stealth. The 1987 is 4.5 to 1 in that range. 2.6 internal. The axles themselves are like 7.5, something like that. We get a huge amount of gear reduction out of this. These guys need to be running like 24s, or they need to go to like something like a 27 turn like this. So this is for curiosity. Who are we fooling? It's all for curiosity. None of this needs to happen, but we're doing it anyway. OD-3 versus Stealth X, both rocking 18%. You already saw. It moves weight. It moves weight around. My guess is still that the OD-3 is lower, but this is more forward. So we're doing a little incidental test of forward weight versus CG. Is it worth it to throw it lower and not have the weight more forward? I don't know. Maybe, you know what? In the grand spirit of pseudoscience, maybe we'll find out. And then we will amble on back here. I'm going to put a second battery in the charger so that we're sure to have a second battery, a backup 2200 battery ready. We're going to swap this guy over into him. They will both have identical gearboxes. I already have my little pieces of foam cut to shim up the driver. They will get new driver seats fabricated at some point. When we determine, is the battery staying on the driver's side, is the battery moving over to that side? That is corner balance stuff that I've got to do on the scales, because the weight of that is probably less than the weight of that. And he is cantilevered, so all of his weight is actually pushing down on here. Yeah, there we go. The brothers are going to help us learn things that we didn't know we needed to know. And isn't that the fun? Isn't that the joy of the toy car? Join me, if you will, in the great out of doors with the birds and the sun and all of the outside things. And we'll see how much we can cram in today. Yeah. Welcome out to the course, where, if you'll recall, not a little while ago, I said one day it's just going to decide that it's summer. And then it's summer, because it has decided that it is so. It's 80 degrees, and it's not yet 9 in the morning. A week ago, it was probably around 50 at this time. Suddenly it's very hot. I can tell you at least one thing gleaned from the experience of wheeling these two gentlemen from shop to course, and that is the blue one is faster. And it seems way faster, but then I said, well, there's a way to test this, dummy. I just set both of their cruise controls to 100%, put them side by side, held a radio in each hand, and did my very best to blow up my lizard brain by trying to operate 2 steering wheels on 2 different vehicles at the same time. I'm not a drummer. I can't do 2 time signatures at the same time. The blue one is marginally faster than the red one, but it's also quite a bit louder. So I think that that's why it also, here's what I notice, and this is the part that I can't explain. Identical ESCs, identical motors, identical batteries. We've got the 100-gram differential weight more in the other one, but when I first go right here, okay, that feels all right. Got to put a little bit of art of focus into it. Okay, right? Doing the thing. That is the OD-3. Has a little, I think. Yes, that is the OD-3. And this is the Stealth. Very different sound, right? So already we're seeing the OD-3. Oh no, I was just in the wrong spot. We got a little body's twisting, a little more body twist on the Stealth. Oh, we need to see drag brake. Okay. Do they feel the same? They feel the same. Do they? I still feel, and I have no idea why this is. Neither rig has any sort of curve programmed into the radio for throttle. The blue, our boy over there on the OD-3, it feels snappier. Like it comes on more quickly. Is that rotating mass? Am I genuinely feeling rotating mass? Come around to this side. I'm gonna shuttle it. Turn back right. I also, for whatever reason, and this one I can't identify why either, but I feel like I need to drive blue with more wheel speed. Like I feel like I have a much lower wheel speed. And like I say, I think when I did the math, it was like it needed like a 19.7 tooth pinion, and I put in a 19 because I didn't have a 20. Like you see the twist we're getting? Now, is that twist because of static weight? Is that because of torque? All I know is that in terms of 18%, I can't feel a difference between the two. I feel like there are times when I'm getting some wheel slip, like right in there, and that wheel slip is coming because I'm just... See what I'm saying? I can give it a significant amount less throttle, and I don't understand. 0.7 teeth of a pinion, so 5%. Yeah, I mean a tooth on 20 versus 19. It's pretty simple math. It's 5%. Okay, yeah. I don't know. They're definitely different. I know, yes. Second blindingly obvious statement of the day. Oh, in the spirit of blinding, as I said, the sun is outlandishly... This is how bright the sun is. Like they're kind of shaded. This is not shaded. This is how bright the sun is. To the point where I had to grab the sunglasses for this process. You know, we're just going to amble and ramble today. Why not? My shop glasses, the ones I keep out in the shed that's right over here behind this wall for like weed eating, are polarized. It turns the screen that's right up about here. It turns it black. So I grabbed my... Look at these. So this is what I'm seeing, right? Get yourself... So apparently these are golf lenses. They made them wrong when I ordered my glasses. I think I mentioned these in the live stream. Look at that. It doesn't look like reality. Yeah, you can't see colors right with these on. Everything is so sharp, though. Why have I not been driving with these on always? Like... It's the contrast between light and dark, between shadow and sun. It's so bright. Get yourself, go down to the local Roger Dunn Golf. Is that still a thing? Get yourself some golf sunglasses, dude. They might be the best driving glasses ever. Yellow? No. Blue. I'm just trying to move from pool of shade to pool of shade. That sun's going to be out from behind. I got about... We got a couple minutes right here before the sun breaks over. I needed some place where we can do more, like a longer throttle application. I'm starting to develop a feel for the difference between OD-3 and Stealth X. Also, we're gonna see, this is something about weight transfer right here. Can you pull over that? Apparently he can. Okay. I'm kind of focusing on finger tension. Like, what does the finger tension feel like flying in? What does the finger tension feel like, one relative to the other? Maybe it is that extra weight inside the gearbox. Like, we've got more stuff spinning. It's not that the Stealth feels underpowered on the same setup. It feels like I'm using less modulation, or less fine modulation on the trigger. I can be a little more gross. You just pull. You can pull on the trigger and leave a fairly even amount of tension. Okay, that as I think was illustrated by what happened, did not see that coming. It's right in here. And remember, red has more weight forward. I believe that is a balance cable falling out by the tire there. Ooh. Okay. Not as pretty. Yeah, OD-3 definitely looked prettier at that. Okay. 2% weight. I don't, 2%, it's all impactful, man. Okay, let's see, boys. So this is only using 18% for descent, and we've got to be pretty fine on the trigger speed for this. Okay, I can't judge how difficult it is to hold him relative to red, because we got to let red go down. That's pretty solid descending. That's pretty solid all around. All right. Get red in here. Try to approximate the same. Yeah, I feel like I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. 5%. 5%. I wish I had a 19.7 tooth pinion gear. No, I wish that manufacturers would start using gears in evenly divisible tooth numbers. I don't know, red felt more stable. I mean, it's all perception at this point. This is purely subjective, because I think if there was a vacuum and there were no indicators on screen to say what gearbox is in whom, aside from sound, I don't know if you'd be able to tell. There's definitely a bit of, like, it's quicker. Like, if they were both turbocharged, blue spools quicker. Like, his power feels like it comes on faster, and that just has to be rotating weight. It's something that I have never experienced in rock crawling before. Because ordinarily, the brain fills in gaps, and we don't get to drive two different gearboxes in identical vehicles immediately, one after t'other, like this. I mean, nobody does this. Nobody builds two identical vehicles. There's more fidelity in the stealth. And is that just a 5% gear? Drag brake is identical, because their final drives are virtually identical. So blue would be 69 to 1. Red would be 5% over. 3.4. So 72 point something to 1. I don't know. He just seems a lot more certain. Like, there's an increased stability, and I'm hoping that that's not an influential effect, that my knowledge that we have lower gearing and there's more weight in the box is what's making it feel more stable overall. You kind of have to be more delicate with throttle inputs on the blue guy. Oh. Well, the driver solution apparently works pretty good, because that was a drop to where we knocked the body in off the slider a little bit. Yeah, I just feel like I can go more than 5% slower. Like, even the fall. Yeah, we both fell. but that fall felt, I don't know, less violent? It's so close. This is not an apple and an orange. Apples and oranges are too far apart, but you can compare them both because they're both fruit. These two are much closer than that. Okay, all right. So the first test is out of the way, and there has been an ongoing test going. Remember I said it sounded like that fall was a little too violent? The unofficial test that was going on in the background was I have laser cut shock towers out of acrylic. So, let me get situated here. So that, we definitely see where the break point was. I mean, look, they snapped identically straight across. Luckily, I know a dude that lasered out extras, so we will put the extras on here. And I had said before, these are not the final shock tower designs. These are not the final shock towers. And worst case scenario, we use the laser to cut out templates to cut them out of aluminum. And yeah, that was a proper hit right there. So, luckily for all of us, well, luckily for me at the very least, that is Blue, who had his shock tower self-disassemble. So he needs a gearbox changed anyway. Throw some new shock towers on him. Slap in the gearbox. The OD-3 versus Stealth X. Stealth X is easier to work on, so that's a pro column. Stealth X is a little more expensive. That's a pro to the OD-3. I think the CG is probably a bit lower on the OD-3. That's a point there. The OD-3 has that quicker spool up, but the Stealth X feels smoother and is quieter. Stealth X has a much larger range of spur. It uses standard spur, and I think pinion range on the OD-3 is 9 to 17. The smallest you can run on a Stealth X is 18, I think, with an 87. But you can fit a 90-tooth spur on a Stealth X, and you can go all the way down to, I think you could probably put a 78 on there. Yeah, there are pluses and minuses for both, and I would not declare an absolute winner for either. I just know that if I have to work on these routinely, I don't want to wrench on an OD-3 all the time. Pinion gear changes are messy and annoying, and pinion gear changes on Stealth X's are not. So make that choice as you will. We will now be going to 2 Stealth X's, and I will put in non-broken shock towers, and then we'll kind of do something approximating this yet again. All right, let's try to remember that red is on the Injora. This is for the editor, which is, you know, me. Blue is on the Tekin. Do you already hear it? Identical spurs, identical pinions, identical gearboxes, identical everything. Okay. I want to do that one more time. Okay. Ready? Listen to that. I'm trying to go for about that same level of throttle input. This is quality of life stuff, okay? I could tell from the drive back, what do we glean from that? The Tekin is smooth. I haven't had the Tekin HD installed in anything in a while, and I should. Because of the gearbox, because of the type of spur and pinion that we're running, almost all the noise we're going to hear is going to be motor. I mean, there's that same little Jetsons sound. Oh, what am I cutting back for? I could have cut back. I should have cut back earlier. Okay, let me get into that spot better. Yeah, it's just that, again, not using enough finger tension, not using enough finger tension. The smoothness and the level of low speed control, when you're pulling the same amount of trigger tension, you're not generating the same amount of wheel speed. You can go, you're just getting that much smoother and that much smoother. You can almost get him into a point where he's making no noise at all. I don't even think it was 15 minutes, all inclusive, to change shock towers. And looking at the breakage and how identical the breakage was, it literally came off one of the shock holes. And I had made these as 16-hole towers initially because, you know, you never know what you're going to need. And then it happened here, as it happens many times. 9 times out of 10, the first selection of holes you go for, is that wheel loose? No. It looked like one of the rears. The lock nuts barely have any bite. We're right at the end of the stub. And what I keep debating over with myself is, do I want to remove 8 brass wheel hexes, take them to the lathe, and turn each of them down to reduce their width by 1 millimeter? It's not fun to have to do that, to have to reproduce. So let's go, I'm going to think on these guys, let's try 25. Let's see what 25 looks like. Okay, there's 25. We'll see if we get any stall outs here. This is the Tekin. You take the throttle out of the driver's hands and it will illuminate, because we're taking away that trigger tension feel. Okay, now it should be very close. So we're going to try 25. I'll move him into position. Get him right about here. Okay, 25 looks slower, yeah? Yeah, 25 is too low. Let's try about 30. So it's the opposite of what I'm feeling. So removing that feel is important, because on trigger feel, it looks like I'm having to pull the trigger on blue harder, but blue goes faster on the Tekin with less trigger input. Okay, that's 30 on the Injora. Pretty close. Yeah, I will chalk it to quality of life. You will be perfectly contented, I think most would, on the $15 Injora. Like in terms of drag brake, we can come right here, make sure we're not hung up mechanically, and we go right there. Any rollback? No. It just settles out the slack in the drivetrain, and then we sit pretty much the same. Yeah. There's a little bit more torque. We're talking a pair of machine wound motors. It's just that as the price goes up, the level and quality of the components just gets a little better and a little better and a little better. There's definitely a point of diminishing returns, particularly when we're dealing with stuff like brushed, which is, you know, one could argue dead, but what I think as I navigate with these two gents, knowing that they are brushed and running very economical brushed systems, I don't feel like I'm ever wanting. Well, more economical over here. But the is more of a giveaway than the feel on the ground. I wish the Canyon needs the blind tester. We need the guy that I could just hand a controller to. I could be like, here, take this. And I could hand it to them and then go, and then they go in a circle and then I go, here, now drive this. Tell me what was the difference between the two. I'm not sure. I don't want to get heavy into the back patting. I don't want to be like, well, I know more than you do. I have advantages. The advantages I have is I have right there. There they sit, side by each. No, no, no. Bees. Two identical rigs separated by just a power plant. $15 in the red, $50 in the blue. It's not something that I would say, oh yeah, you go out and get it. You have to. It is quality of life, and really, I could not claim more than that. Because when I do something like this, we'll come over, we'll do a little breakover. I get a feel of what my trigger tension is. That Injora is definitely a little raspy. So listen to a little bit of raspiness. Identical brand new Kimbrough 87 tooth spurs. Right? I mean, if quietness is something that is desperately important to you, but in terms of quantifiables, like relative amount of torque, the ease at which they go over obstacles and stuff, it's so close as to be, you know, point of diminishing returns. It's such a small difference. It's such a small difference. A perfect analogy to, and it's not even an analogy, a perfect situational description to end on, which is this. Not that. We can, which is this. In the red vehicle is a $15 Injora, and in the blue vehicle is a $50 Tekin. These two gentlemen have to run the same motor and the same speed control. They basically have to run the same combo, because that's how we test things side by each. I would not spend the additional $35, or in my case, the outright $50 to buy another Tekin HD 35 turn to put into the red one. The Injoras are, by my definition, good enough. They're good enough. They absolutely do the thing. Do I enjoy this? Let me grab that blue guy. Rolling with stealth. That you can get into the... It's just, but it's quality of life money. And all things being equal, if you've got $35 burning a hole in your pocket, there's every chance in the world that that $35 can be better spent somewhere else. If you okay, you have $50 and you need to get a brushed motor, you can get the Injora for $15 and have $35 left over to spend on others. Get yourself a pinion gear and a new spur gear. Get yourself some shock springs. Do you hear what I'm saying? The increase in quality of life value for that additional $35, for me, it's not there. I love how this motor feels. There is just this additional level of smoothness. Now, if you have a 1080 G2, maybe not as perceptible. Perhaps. But I don't think that the increase in both relative quality and perceived quality. I don't think it's $35 worth. The Tekin costs over triple what the Injora costs. And, I mean, it's better. It's objectively better. But is it triple the cost better? That I don't think so. So we've, incidentally, was that a thing that we set out to learn? I can't remember if that was a thing that we set out to learn or not. If it was, I feel like we learned it. And when I get controller back and catch it today, when I get controllers back and forth, when I go blue to red, yeah, the red is just sounding louder and louder and louder and louder. And you know what? I am going to have to, Elsa, I'm going to have to hashtag deal with it. Because this absolutely does the things. Also, like I said earlier, you got to go out and get yourself some blue lensed. I think I'm 99% sure they're for golf. Nike like Golf Vision, but I think any blue lensed sunglass for presumably golf, high contrast. I don't know what it is. After I come out here and I wear them, I had forgotten. My brain had erased it. I used to wear these to ride the bike, where contrast also helps. Puddles, whatnot, stuff like that. Shadows. It basically eliminates shadow, is what these do. But what they also do is, when you take them off, the world is an amber-tinted, brownish tan nightmare that you almost don't want to look at. It's like, it turns the world sepia tone. Sepia tone? Sepia tone? It turns the world sepia tone. So be aware of that. Do I wish I had a second Tekin T35 just sitting in a bin? Yeah, then I would run both. But I wouldn't go out and buy one. It's nice, but it's not spend $50 again nice. Yeah, there you go. There you go. I think whatever it is, I think we covered it. Yeah. OD-3 versus Stealth X, it is a toss-up for your fitment. I'm sure, I guarantee there are builds out there that won't fit a Stealth X, but will easily fit an OD-3. Boom, bap. I also feel like the OD-3 is really designed to run a 380. But is definitely robust enough to throw into a 6.5-pound VS-104 chassis build. So maybe there's more versatility to the OD-3. Yeah, okay. And Injora versus Tekin? Yeah, the Tekin is nicer. It's not even a point of contention, but it costs 3 times as much. You could buy 3. You could buy a 35 turn, a 45 turn. You could buy a 27, a 35, and a 45 of the Injora and try them out and find out which one you like for the same amount of money. So, see what I'm saying? Do you hear where I'm coming from, or are you picking up what I'm putting down? I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down, because what I'm putting down right now is that we're done for the day, and I hope that you're doing all right. I feel like we did okay. I hope that in between now and when we meet again, you want and I'll do your very best to have a good one, everybody. I look forward to seeing you in the comments and during the live stream and any other moment. Like if you pop your head around the fence right now and be like, hey, how's it going? So I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thanks for joining us for this one. The twins, what a great day. It's always a good day when the twins are here, right? Feels like it. We'll see you next time. Once again, KNF Concept. KNF Concept. There's nothing quite, quality of life. There's a $30 lens cap. $30 lens cap. Do I need it? No. Do I want it? Yeah. Why? Because magnets.